Give me two. I mean, we can go live, but then start.
All right, go.
I just want to set up a fall safe here with
Okay.
the one listener in the apartment.
What? 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 I'm glad that he says that right when I hit go live. Like literally, we're live on YouTube.
The two faces for radio are on. There he is.
Hello.
The boys are back in town. Okay, we ready?
Yep.
Yes.
We're officially ready. All right. Dirty Sports Podcast, episode 693. We are live in 5, 4, 3. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I am your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Los Angeles, California, Joey No Chill Prano.
Hello, Andy.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. You did a Tug doing you because we welcome back to the show our good friend, Tug Coker.
Hello, Andy. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Tug.
Guys, I thought you were canceled. You know, I thought for sure I hadn't been on in months, and I just thought the show was over. But it's not. It's going strong.
I'm not sure we haven't been canceled.
Tug, it's good to have you back in the building. It really is.
It's great to be back. It's been quite, I don't know the last time I was on. I want to say like, maybe like pre-move or once post-move, but a lot of life going on. As I alluded to off air, you know, for those of you who don't know, I'm adding a third kid to Dirty Sports Dad. And so I got to move. So that's
know, and I don't want to make any decisions for them before they're out, but do we know what of the two genders a doctor would say?
Well, I will never define that child. That baby can be whatever gender they want.
Biologically speaking, though, what gender?
What's the predominant gender of the Dirty Sports hosts' families?
We are all boys.
Three boys coming. That's I'll be reaching out to all of you, to both of you, for advice on the three brothers. Andy's got more, obviously.
Well, my mom used to say, people would always say to her, I just don't know. 5 boys. How'd you do it? Blah, blah, blah. And my mom would always tell me, especially as I got older, she goes, again, she'd be canceled probably for saying this. She's like, boys are just easier to raise, because she'd say, women were so emotional and we think things through. And like, if I tell my boy to just stop it, or, you can chew them out, or it's very cut and clear with boys, she would always say. She'd say, girls are a lot different. Like we have a lot of other things going on. So I think in a way it's easier, according to her, to raise boys.
The one thing I'll say is that, I had 2 sisters growing up. I always enjoyed, probably maybe not in the moment enjoying having 2 sisters, but like I think I learned a lot about women from having 2 sisters. So I think we're hoping to have a girl, but we got 3 boys. Really, I mean, I'm excited about it. And the thing I'll miss is like no father-daughter dance at the wedding. But like also by the same token, like I have a couple cousins that are like going through their teen years and that I follow on Instagram, and like I want no part of having to have those conversations.
That's literally what I was going to say to you. If from somebody who has 2 brothers and 1 sister, is like you'll know what each of your boys is about, and they'll be a pretty small range of their emotional and like quirkiness, whereas like at 13 a girl is just like, I have no idea. Like this was one person, and now I referred to my sister's teenage years as our Vietnam. I was like, we lost some good men out there. Not everybody came home, and but we survived. We made it through. It's not a war we won, but we fought it. So you've got, you definitely don't have teenage girl, which especially with TikTok and like Instagram and just
Oh,
general teenage girl stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, so so we move on with getting all the accoutrements of being, a full-time dad, like getting into the, larger van business. Um,
The
pretty
larger
soon.
van business.
So anyway, a lot of world, a lot of stuff going on, but I'm really excited to see both of you. I haven't seen Joe since he returned from his domestic trip. Andy, I haven't seen you since you came back from the Capitol last week, so that's cool.
oh, you had that one primed and ready. That's a good one. I like it.
Yeah.
You were
Thank
ready
you.
to fire on that.
And Tug, I know Andy didn't and I didn't, but I can only assume that you have had an alarm on your phone set for the Tiger Woods documentary. Now you've got 3 boys. Like, are you planning like a Coker boys foursome? Like, this will be the Sunday thing instead of church. You guys hitting the links every weekend
here's
as
the
a foursome?
sad part. My wife Catherine played golf in high school, so now like I don't want to like leave her out. She can hit a ball too, so I don't know what we're gonna do. One of them's gonna not play and just be the caddy. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll have we'll play horse. The loser has to be the caddy for the day, so that's what we'll do. But yeah, I mean, there's some golf stuff that I wanted to make sure that we get to. Obviously, Tiger Doc. I did not watch it. Did you guys watch it yet?
I didn't even know there was a Tiger doc.
Well, there's been a lot of pub about it, but I'm curious about the HBO running it the same night after 6 football playoff games. Like, there's like a lot of feel like there's sports fatigue after the end of the Steelers Browns game. So I'm interested to know why they decided to program it there. But I'm sure I'll get into it. I mean, it's a pretty amazing life. Like, whether you guys are very opposed to Tiger, but like what a life, what a life he's lived.
I'm
So
actually not. I'm not. Maybe Joe a little more than me, but I'll let him speak on that. I'm not opposed to Tiger. I'm opposed to, or I should say, I was opposed to just denial of how great he was and the definition of being back. That's the only thing I was opposed to.
And I've always just been opposed to like this
Slurping.
Yeah, the slurp. But like, for the guy, he's not. I said it the other day to somebody I was talking about. I was like, he's not Alex Smith. He hasn't come back from 17 leg surgeries, and his wife made his, braces into a trophy. Like, essentially, people who root for like the return of Tiger Woods to greatness are the people that are like, I hope Big Ben can come back for one more year and redeem himself. Where I'm like, I'm good if that's the end of Big Ben. If the end of Big Ben is like a twice accused rapist crying on the bench after he got beat by the Progressive insurance guy, like, I'm all for this ending.
Which, great segue, Joe Prano. That's a professional right there. I think it is the end, and his missed throws and he just doesn't have it. That's my take on Ben. We'll start there. What do you guys think?
Well, the tears last night. I mean, I'll just say quickly. I'll pass it to Joe. Like, it did look like he's having a moment with himself, because they did zoom in. NBC zoomed in on him last night, showing tears down his cheeks. So I don't know if that's just him sort of judging his own performance, but this isn't coming from me. But like, people throughout the league basically say that Big Ben's work ethic isn't like the top level work ethic in the league. It's like, it's hard, to see him come back for one more year and like, this is the year I'm going to put everything into it. You're probably going to get more of the same. But I'm sure Joe and I will agree on a lot of these things, because yes, Big Ben was not very good last night, but like, it was complete failure by the entire organization last night. Like, everyone was bad. We'll get into the Tomlin situation. Like, I'll just harp on like the thing that Twitter kind of globbed onto too, which was the 4th and 1 punt, where he went later said that he was feeling the momentum of wanting to pin them back. What momentum are you talking about?
Yeah.
The momentum is your offense. Not your defense. Your defense have already got hung for 35. What momentum are you talking about, Mike?
That train of thought was lunacy. In fact, the only the only thing that like gives that game a chance is embracing the wackiness, embracing that you've given up a ton of points and they're the Browns and they're going to give up a ton of points and turnovers are going to happen and big plays are going to happen. And our quarterback's throwing 4 touchdowns, but he's throwing 4 picks. There's 500 yards. It's like, you just need to go full, Big 12. Like the idea of like some Big 12 coach in the fourth quarter trying to pin somebody, to protect their 12-point deficit.
I mean,
They would get run out of Norman, Oklahoma. Like the only move there is to be like, let's just get weird. And, if we get it, great. And if not, like, they're probably going to score, but then they'll score faster so we can come back and score again faster. Like, it couldn't have been like a less informed, less like aware of how the whole game has played out and how your only chance of winning is this angle. And listen, I've been a Mike Tomlin truther, and I kind of downshifted this season when they were 11-0, and I was like, okay, I let it get to double-digit wins. I still called them pretenders. It's at 11. The day I jumped, not on the bandwagon, but the day I said, okay, we can't criticize these guys at 11-0 anymore. They've lost 5 of their last 6, and don't win a play and get embarrassed at home by the Cleveland Browns. That's like the whole, the one thing that you can criticize Pittsburgh all you want. They also did it to the team that everybody goes, well, Browns gonna Browns.
Yeah, and
Browns tried to Browns. There was an element where the Browns were still going to go to Browns. If you push it over the edge and go in that 4th and 1, the Browns may Browns.
Right. Yeah.
Like get in that position where they actually get in their own way. I mean, the only way that Big Ben really succeeds in the league the last few years is like Randy Fichtner is the OC, and he basically runs into plays where it never works. And Big Ben's whole scenario is we got to go backyard football. Like I'm going to take we ride or die with Big Ben. Just sort of like I'm going to call the plays. Whatever you're doing doesn't make any sense, and you live and die with a couple picks, but like 500 yards and 5 touchdowns or whatever. And it didn't happen. And a couple times Mike Tomlin's like, just the decision to like take the ball out of the hand when he actually is heating up makes no sense. And then the Browns throw 4 or 5 times in a row. They do exactly what the Steelers should have been doing, and just roll the ball down the field. It's like just stomped on them. It's crazy to watch. Like I looked up a couple stats for you because the Tug Nug's got to come back, but Baker Mayfield is the slowest to get the ball out in the league. Over 3 seconds. And last night, he got it out in 2.3 seconds. They couldn't move the ball. He got sacked 8 times the first 2 games against the Steelers. They said he wasn't pressured. He had to run and stuff, but PFF doesn't count runs as like pressures. But out of 36 dropbacks, he wasn't pressured. They didn't change their game, which to me, Mike Tomlin, I've always had this feeling because I feel I'm aligned with Joe in the sense where I like Tomlin, went to William & Mary, where I went for a year. I think he's a good coach, but they've always had problem playing down to competition. Always have had problems playing down competition. I feel like he's old school in the sense where he feels like energy and like alpha-ness is enough. Where Stefanski is a young buck, smart coach, even though he wasn't there last night. That actually shows to me more quality as a coach because he's not even there, and there's a system built in place for them to do whatever they want. They do the Chubb, they do the Hunt show. And he's like, I'll take whatever, this sort of like energy is enough to win thing, and I'll stomp your face with it.
And I think Tomlin, and the same goes for, even maybe more so with Roethlisberger. I think Ben has had this guy in him his whole career, but we are seeing clearly a changing of the guard and very much like very blatant in the, the one quarterback class getting 3 wins yesterday, whereas Rivers and Roethlisberger lose, Eli retires last year. Like that, the changing of the guard from that old school, like this is the end of that run. There is no more of that. And Ben never really adjusted to being low turnover, high completion percentage guy. And it seems like he almost embraced the backyard football mentality more and more as he went along. And Tomlin, the same thing. I just feel like Tomlin has not made any adjustments at all to what he was doing to win football games 12 years ago. And it's a whole different world in the NFL. And I just think that, I didn't see this coming because I'm one of the 75% of people who watched and bet on this game who was like, going to be hard to win without a head coach. But with a head coach, I liked what the Browns had to attack the Steelers with. And then, they don't have a head coach. I mean, I tweeted yesterday, Mike Tomlin got outcoached by blank. No one. Mike Tomlin got outcoached by no coach.
Guys, I know we're all going to be hard on Tomlin and how they played, but can we give a little credit to the Browns for winning a playoff game finally and dominating and coming ready to play and having a great run game? Look, as someone who's from a city that can't win a playoff game, I just think it's great. I think it's great for Cleveland. They won a playoff game. Now, I don't think they're going to win next week. I don't think anybody does, but I agree. I thought they were going to brown it. I think that if that 4th and 1 goes a different way, Browns might brown. But look, they won a game. The monkey's off their back. And I can't wait for more Baker Mayfield commercials because we know how much I love those.
Well, let me ask you this. And this is total hypothetical, but it has a Giants tie-in. Like, where does this team go if Odell's still in the game? Like, there's a lot of stories, whispers behind the scenes that there's a lot of chemistry issues between Baker and Odell. Like, do we see Odell in a Browns uniform next year? Thoughts on that, Joe? Like, and it's how did that team shift away? It seems like they spread the ball more instead of trying to force it to Odell all the time.
We've talked about this on the show before, and I think the thing with like the diva wide receiver and the like force ball wide receiver is we've seen the diva wide receiver go to a team where get picked up by a Belichick and not do that anymore. So like, I think there's something innate about like these insane talents that have been dominant at every level where that's just in them to be like, I want the ball, throw me the damn ball. But I think it's more on the coach and it's more on the quarterback who you could be Jerry Rice. You're not more important than the quarterback to say, we'll get you the ball. And if we don't, that's, deal with it. Like we have seen the rehabilitation of diva wide receivers in the past. So like, I know Odell is, characterized as a diva, but like, I just put that on everywhere he's been. And the Giants, Ben McAdoo was not prepared to handle that. And,
but let me hop in here. It doesn't seem like you're giving any accountability to Odell. You're saying I put that on where he's been.
I put that on Odell, but I'm saying, okay, listen, there are wide receivers, not every wide receiver is Larry Fitzgerald. They come in and quietly crush their job. And, I said Jerry Rice before, who obviously is not a diva wide receiver and is the greatest of all time. But like Randy Moss was a diva wide receiver. Randy Moss was yelling in Dante Culpepper's face on the sideline, then goes to the Raiders and everybody's like, oh, well, this is it. Guess that's Randy Moss now, just diva wide receiver. Then he goes to the Patriots and breaks every receiving record. So I think, that's just something that you have to plan to deal with when you have an insane talent. And the idea that you wouldn't want Odell Beckham on this Browns team seems crazy to me. I think you just need to figure out how to use him and keep him happy.
I wouldn't, and I've said this. I wouldn't want him. They're winning without him. They're winning.
Well, listen, they're going to win a playoff game, and you just said you basically give them no shot against the Chiefs.
I don't give them no shot. I mean, they're 10-point underdogs.
They're 10-point underdogs, and if they're giving up, 35 points to a Roethlisberger 4-turnover Steelers team, like, what are we putting the over/under at Mahomes? And then it becomes, well, if you're going to be this team, don't you need more weapons?
I don't know what if I can save money, I get rid of Odell.
You know, it's funny because we're gonna have this conversation a little later about a couple other alpha wide receivers over the weekend, namely DK Metcalf and his antics. So maybe we can sort of compare some of these guys later in the episode. But I just want to say quickly, Browns Chiefs next week has Chiefs as 10-point favorites. The total is 56, highest point total of the week. So you got to expect 35 of those coming from, again, the Chiefs. But yeah, I mean, you have to, Andy, you said the right thing. You got to tip your cap to the Browns, like first time in forever to win. Like, I think everyone was just, you turn on your TV last night and they're up 14-0. It makes it a lot more easy to win when you're up 28-0 in the first quarter. But I think they'll have a chance, one, because Kareem Hunt revenge game, how those, he'll probably go for 102.
I just love the idea of this is the Tiger doc, the Kareem Hunt.
Get this from me, guys.
We had to get rid of you because you beat the shit out of your girlfriend. And he's like, I want revenge.
Yep,
revenge is how you got here in the first place, buddy. Stop doling out revenge on people, specifically women.
But yeah, the Steelers, I think it's very interesting to see where they go from here. I mean, there's some, I think this is from Nick D'Alessandro. Let me know that he might see a Watt reunion in Pittsburgh next year. Will we see JJ move over?
God, I can't. That's just I don't know. I that's too much testosterone for me. Like I don't know if I can handle that.
But I'm interested.
Who's the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers next year?
I was going to ask the same question.
Ben Roethlisberger, the field, and if the field, who do you go with?
Well, they've tried this. I mean, Josh Cribbs they drafted him, and it was my boy out of Landry Jones out of Oklahoma, like a couple of different options last year that were just abysmal.
But we have just across the state, we've got Wentz blowing in the wind. We've got Winston, who's the third string in New Orleans. We've
possibly Sam Darnold.
Yeah, Sam Darnold.
Sam Bradford's going to come back probably.
Well, it's a good question. I read into a few articles on that. They're not in a good position because they're going to have the 24th draft pick, so they're too late to get a good quarterback. They're not in a good position, like Joe said.
Cap-wise.
Yeah, and who's available. So the argument that I'm seeing early is you kind of suck next year and you hope for a QB in 2022.
We should have sucked. This is the year to suck. This is the year to suck. I mean,
yeah. And then who's that coach? Who's that quarterback's coach? Mike Tomlin. You're a young, fresh out of college gunslinger. You got Mike Tomlin yelling at you while you're asleep. Like, I don't know. I've been off Tomlin for a while, but
well, look, man, and Tug, you alluded to it, and we can just go to this game. I see a lot of similarities between the two franchises, Seattle and Pittsburgh, after how these games played out, with coaching, with getting out coached by younger guys. That doesn't take away from bad play on the field. You already alluded to DK Metcalf, but obviously I'm a big Pete Carroll stan, but that game really makes you think. And if you read enough into it, especially Schottenheimer calling plays, they were completely outcoached. Now, they played terribly all the way around, from the coaches to the quarterback to the receivers dropping balls. But like that play that Russ threw that pick six on, and that doesn't alleviate Russ from blame, but they said he 100% knew that play, the DB.
Well, yeah, he jumped a wide receiver screen that never happened. Like, just straight, you see tipped wide receiver screens intercepted. You see dropped wide receiver screens. You don't see guys jumping screen routes. But, I think the thing with Pete Carroll, as opposed to Tomlin, like, I don't know what Mike Tomlin's about, and at this point it's like, oh, he's, Mike Tomlin's wearing the aviators and he's the best. Meanwhile, like, the entire league is fueled by revenge against Juju and Claypool's like TikTok. Like he's not exactly like the general that his facade makes it seem like he is. The thing with Pete Carroll, and I know we have a DK Metcalf diva wide receiver, and that's the thing. It's like I think diva wide receivers are tough to manage regardless. But I think the thing with Pete Carroll and the Schottenheimer and the way that everybody wants to, put these last few years of blame on them is Pete Carroll just wants to win with defense. He has a personality,
but he doesn't have the defense that he used to have. Therein lies the problem.
And listen, this goes back to what I've been saying the whole time, which is if that's your MO, maybe don't give your quarterback the bank breaking contract and not have the Legion of Boom. If you have Russell Wilson and you're, Sean McVay or you're some, offensive guru, okay. But if you're a guy who's built on let's run the ball and play some defense, then maybe don't say, let's burn down the defense and pay the quarterback.
Yeah, but I just want to say the interesting thing about Seattle this year is they actually their teams kind of flip-flopped. Like they're two halves of the ball. Like offense was amazing the first 6-7 games of the year. Defense was all-time bad. And then the defense got a little bit better and the offense sputtered. Like I hear both arguments, and I've always thought of the Seahawks past 5 years as a paper tiger. I liked the Rams this past weekend. I said, one of the Dirty Sports followers, Cayman Style 33, asked me who the paper tigers were. I said everyone but the Packers. But I think the Rams, give it. I know Andy likes to hit on the $100 million contract, but like we've seen Goff have abilities to go off. Like I think like. In the right situation, this defense is better than really good. This defense is excellent.
And I want to hop in on that. They are like I don't want to take. Obviously, I'm saying how bad Seattle played, but I don't want to take anything away from that. And I don't think people realize this. Going into the playoffs, the Rams defense gave up the fewest amount of points, the fewest amount of yards, and the fewest amount of first downs. Those are the three stats that matter, aren't they? When it comes to a defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think they play the Packers next week, and I don't think the Rams are going to win now because they don't have a healthy quarterback and Aaron Donald's not on 100%. But if all things were equal, I think they'd be very, very live because Goff has, as we saw him against Tampa Bay earlier in the year, has a chance to go off for 35, and that's how you beat Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. Like you have a very good defense, and then you have this ability to kind of go off on people. And they're susceptible to the run. Like Cam Akers is hot right now. So I still think they'll probably cover that game. But I think they had a real chance if everyone was at full strength. And I think also there's certain matchups. Like Shanahan kind of owns McVay. And McVay kind of owns Carroll. Like, so we're just seeing
and Carroll kind of owns Shanahan.
And Carroll kind of owns Shanahan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's like a weird thing, and everyone owns.
And Cliff Kingsbury is just also in the division.
He's at home in a very nice house.
Cliff Kingsbury owns an awesome house outside of Scottsdale.
Yeah, not utilizing Kyler in the best way, but we'll see next year. But I think I hear all your points. I think like the Seahawks are very interesting because they keep running the same offense. But they are very talented. I mean, like around week 6 or 7, I think part of the diva thing happened because DK became an absolute beast.
Right.
The problem is they started to feed. I mean, yes, he got 2 scores last week, but they tried to feed him too much. Lockett, who was awesome for the first half of the year, disappears. Like Carson's really good. Even Hyde was playing well. So like, there's just not enough innovation in that offense or balance to like really make me feel like they're a threat to do anything.
You know what happened? Defenses started taking away the deep ball after the first 6-7 weeks, and they don't innovate from there. And Russ is still trying to throw the deep ball, and it's not there. And Schottenheimer's calling the plays, and then they flip-flop the plays. I think there was massive panic after Russ had a few bad games, like massive panic, where they said, hey, we're going to go back to the old school. Russ is turning the ball over too much. Instead of maybe finding a middle solution,
Well, I think the middle solution is tough to find because Russ is the NFL poster child for play action is the cheat code. He's not good sitting back there in a shotgun, getting the ball snapped and running, just a 5 wide, throw it deep, or even throw it middle offense. Like he's good at going deep on the moon ball off the play action that's set up, getting guys, a head start on their run down field. And like you said, teams start to figure that out and you have to innovate. Now, people always want to put, everything on the coaches there, but like I said last year, like I said going into this game, like I said, at some point he has to make a play on his own. At some point he has to do something. And the other thing is it's kind of a moot point with the Rams because they already paid Goff, but Goff's been to a Super Bowl. And if he goes to a Super Bowl this year, win or lose with the best defense in the league, no one's going, Jared Goff's an elite quarterback. And I'm sorry, but that's where I've always been at with Russ. Cool. You played well when you had a top 1 defense your first few years. Since then, you lose your first playoff game and you look bad doing it.
But that's factually untrue, what you just said. That's just factually untrue. He for the record, Russ played an awful game. He played a terrible game. And I agree with you.
And he played an awful game 2 years ago in Dallas.
But
he played bad last year in the loss.
Joe, this was the first time they've lost at home since 2004, an opening round playoff game. So let's tap the brakes for a minute. He's not playing awful games in these playoffs. He's holding the ball too long. I agree with you there. You got to get rid of the ball at a certain point. You got to get rid of the ball. But
I think yeah, I'll leave finish. Good.
But he's not playing awful. I mean,
I just think if you're not converting third downs, you're not playing well.
They're also running the ball on a lot of these third downs. Look, they went
2 years ago in Dallas, the only third downs they converted were running the ball.
If you look at how he's utilized or not utilized, in my opinion, especially on a lot of these third and short, and you're going against the best defense in the NFL. You're just gonna hand the ball to Carson up the gut. That's a terrible play call. They need to roll Russ out more. They need to get him in open space, especially when he's going against a good defense. He also needs to get rid of the ball quicker. I agree. But I think it's a combination of a lot of those things. And I think the play calling of Schottenheimer, you guys should all read the Ringer article. It's great. Take Carroll out of it. He was so outcoached by the Rams defensive coordinator. And is it Staley? Is that his name, Tug? Do you remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
That young defensive coordinator for the Rams, he was 100% outcoached. He was 100% outcoached. Russ definitely needs to make better plays. But this notion that Russ is just playing awful in the playoffs, it's just not true.
Well, we'll just first of all
minus Saturday. Saturday he played awful.
First of all, we'll just have to agree to disagree there because again, I go back to the Dallas game 2 years ago. I don't care about the late yard stacking. If you're not converting third downs, I don't care what your name is or what your stats look like at the end. If you're punting all the time, you're not playing well. And the bottom line is, I think Russ is a great quarterback, but we all need to tap the brakes on how great he is because we've had Aaron Rodgers with Mike McCarthy. We have had Aaron Rodgers with a coach that shoots him in the leg to start every fucking game. And he's played in NFC championship games and he's carried teams. And we've had Deshaun Watson, go off in the playoffs just on his own, regardless of being coached by Bill O'Brien. And everybody wants to say it's the coaching, it's the coaching, it's the coaching. Meanwhile, everybody wants to say Pete Carroll's a top 5 coach in the NFL. And Russ Russ has the 70-yard halves and it's coaches. Well, that's fine. So let's just say that, Jared Goff goes off because he has a great coach, but he's not a great quarterback. And let's tap the brakes on Russell Wilson is in conversations with Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen and other guys. Like you came out and you took a dump. You did. And he
did one game, but again, we're looking at a resume, right? Like we're looking at the whole package, and no one's denying that he took a dump. Like no one's going to deny that. He took He took a terrible, big, smelly dump. But Joe, like, let's tap the brakes a little too. Like you're bringing Jared Goff into this discussion. Like, come on, man. That's just
Can I weigh in on this?
yeah.
What I think is interesting, as we've only compared 2 games so far, but they're similar games. Like they're both the Browns, Steelers, Rams, Seahawks are both interdivisional playoff games. Both have played each other twice this year. So like, to me, I think what's exciting is about that. Like, keep looking at the youthful young coaches and the energy and the analytics and the savvy they're bringing into the league. Like, we should be excited about this because McVay just, is just smash Carroll, and Stefanski, whatever he built in Cleveland, just came in. And Tomlin's pretty young, but like Tomlin feels old guard to me. Where I feel similar to what Joe's saying, where I'm not quite sure what he is about, other than like just the face of the franchise at the moment. And so for the Rams to come in and like, keep in mind the cupboard's pretty bare with the Rams. Like they gave up, they sold out everything for these draft picks to bring in, the defense, but they're still finding some nice hits with Akers. Even Darrell Henderson's doing well. Woods and Kupp are hits. Goff is agreed. I agree with both of you. I don't think Goff is the answer, but we've seen him do enough. Like, I think he's surprised all of us this year because we felt like it was a down year last year, and he's come back and they've played really well in spots. They shredded the Buccaneers,
But
Carroll,
that's why I say it's, we can criticize Goff all we want, but the bottom line is, you can build a team and say, like, I don't need my quarterback to be Aaron Rodgers. I need a really good defense. I need to be able to run the ball. I need to be whatever. I can get to a Super Bowl and I can potentially win a Super Bowl. Like, McVay believes he can win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. He already got there. He's got the one Super Bowl loss that, Aaron, that Russell Wilson has on his resume. He doesn't have the Super Bowl win yet, but he's got the loss. It's like, to me, again, it's build a great defense, run the ball, take it out of your quarterback's hands if he's not one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And the thing is, again, about the Russell Wilson thing is everybody wants to point to Russell Wilson's career stats. This is why he's elite. This is why he's elite. This is why he's elite. Pete Carroll's been his coach the whole time. Schottenheimer's been his coach. So when he's playing MVP quality, Schottenheimer is a fine offense coordinator. And then when the playoffs come and he can't get a first down, it's all Schottenheimer's fault. Well, it's got to be some combo of the two.
Well, it is. It is a combo. And look, real quick, Tug, and then hop in.
Yeah.
I think it's a combo of all those things. And let's not forget, when we're having any of these QB discussions, I think it's important to always remember it's where you go. It's your system. All that shit matters. And we've discussed it at length. Where's Tom Brady if he goes to the Browns? Where's Russell Wilson if he goes to the Browns? These are legitimate questions that you have to ask about all these quarterbacks. So I agree with you there, Joe. I think it is a combination.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that people, when they want to do the slurping, or if you're me and you want to like be what I think is a realist, is Russell, when Russell Wilson went to the Seahawks, he wasn't a top pick. They had a team in place. They had a defense. He went in. But the Seahawks have flipped from being the Legion of Boom to being Russell Wilson's team. And the Legion of Boom takes you to Super Bowls, even if your quarterback throws 4 picks in a championship game. And when it's Russell Wilson's team, they beat, a 7-9 Eagles, or they lose their very first playoff game.
And that's my point as in comparing these 2 games that we've compared, is I think how similar the Seahawks and the Steelers regimes are. And maybe I still think I probably fall in between you guys and where we put Wilson. I think Wilson is very good, but he reminds me a lot of Big Ben, right? Big Ben won Super Bowls when he had an elite defense. When the team became Big Ben's, we haven't quite seen that yet. Same thing with Seattle. So I think like it's a pretty, they're both kind of backyard players, have a tendency to hold the ball too long, get sacked. I think like the comparison between Big Ben and Russell Wilson is very, very real. So it's interesting to watch like both of them kind of have weekends where they stumble for they're great because of that, and they're also their weakness, and we saw the weaknesses kind of show up this weekend.
And I have no problem with that. Look, and I'm on record. My affection.
They're two Hall of Famers, I
us,
should
but I'm
say.
also
They're both Hall of Famers. So,
but that's what I was just gonna say. I'm also on
Yeah.
record never, never comparing him to Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm on record. Let the Twitter idiots do that who don't follow the sport like we do. Like, let that happen, and that's fine. And I think I'm glad you brought that up. Two franchises, because that's what I was saying earlier in the show. I think there is a big crossover with them, and if we want to move to another team and a great quarterback who I said I would put third in my MVP voting this year is the Bills, and how he's making a name for himself. And the Bills finally get off the schneid and win a playoff game, first time in 25, 26 years. And I know Joe has a lot to say about both Josh Allen and Phillip Rivers doing Phillip Rivers things in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, I was texting you throughout the game, and I started to smell it, in the second quarter when it was kind of like a back and forth game. And I was like, this is going to come down to a Phillip Rivers. This is going to come down to a Phillip Rivers with the ball, with a shot, which, like, I don't know what it is about Phillip Rivers teams, because I don't think that's all on him, but it's like, almost how many times have we had the Phillip Rivers has a shot to win it? Like in regular seasons, in postseasons, I mean, just in the last few seasons. And I mean, you get two, the thing is, it couldn't have been more Phillip Rivers of a final drive to me. You have two throwaways on second and third down. They go into that with one timeout because Phillip Rivers can't get a playoff earlier in the half. Then I think they lose a second one on a challenge. So you go Phillip Rivers with one timeout. I mean, I didn't shut it off, but I could have, because they weren't getting in.
Yeah, I mean,
we've done the Phillip Rivers as anti-clutch thing. It's like he continues to have these moments.
They did cover though, right?
Yes.
So, and that felt like I did not bet on this game, but I felt like the Colts were the play just because, everyone's paranoid that the Bills aren't going to get it done. A little bit of Brown's energy probably with the Bills. So, in that respect, I was really impressed with the Bills. I mean, you talk about diva wide receivers. Diggs is unbelievable this year.
Yeah,
Diggs is incredible. Like it's very rare that you see receivers in their first year moving to a different team be as good as he is, and like that's a testament to him, to Josh Allen's improvement, to Brian Dable, who a lot of people thought like was not the best OC out there. Like they thought he'd be like a pretty run heavy, but I think they're one of the most fun teams in the league. If you look up Justice Mosquito, who's a guy on Twitter who does like a weekly breakdown of like the NFL, I think it's really, really accurate. Like he has the Bills ahead of the Chiefs. So I'd like to see that. I'd love to see the Bills play the Chiefs. I think that'd be super fun.
Well, I think the thing about the Bills and sort of the public's love of the Bills is I feel like people went into yesterday thinking either the Bills are losing this game to the Colts or the Bills are going to the Super Bowl. Like, I think there was two camps. Like, the people are way high on the Bills and the people who were like, the Bills are going to get shocked. And to me, I picked and bet on the Colts, and it played out exactly as I thought it would. It's like, yeah, there's going to be a chance for Phillip Rivers at the end, and he's not going to get it done. They'll cover, but they won't win. And I like the Bills to win next week. And I like the Bills, fun birth of a new franchise to run into a Chiefs buzzsaw. And it's like, to me, that's fine. It's like that. If that's their season, going from nobodies to, outsider MVP candidate 2 seed, lose to the defending champ Chiefs, you're building a franchise.
You're also seeing, like, they played the Texans last year in the playoffs, and he really struggled in that game last year. And to see the maturity, the development in his play, like, I mean, I almost like ran through my window when I saw him do that first touchdown where he tried to run it and then do like the shovel pass to Dawson Knox in the end zone. It was such a great heads up, athletic, tough guy play. It was all the things you want in a quarterback. You're like, this guy is making the leap. Not to mention, like, I know people were hard on him pre-draft, and I think I was too. Probably like, well, why am I going to pick on this? If you got like Ryan Leaf, he smells like Ryan Leaf a little bit, like big kid out of the West. But his football looks so beautiful. Like I just want to watch him throw. I just want on a loop. I just want him throwing silently on a loop when I need to calm myself down because it's so effortless to watch. And you need people like him and Mahomes just throw the aesthetics of the way they throw the football is just it's just awesome.
And I think, when I watch Allen play, and to go back to Russ, is like Allen makes those crazy throws where he's like off balance and going the wrong way and all that, which Russ had a great touchdown making one of those plays in their game. But the one thing is, like, I feel like Josh Allen's movement is with purpose. He's like, I'm going, like, even on that touchdown you talked about, he's like, I'm going for the end zone. And then he's like, wait, no, I'm just going to shovel this off.
Yep.
We don't see a lot of Josh Allen, like a couple slides here, a couple slides there, and I'm back and I'm forward and I'm sacked. He's moving with purpose one way or the other. Sometimes it's in the wrong direction and he takes a bad sack, but he's going, I'm running this way. And what I like about him is he has a big arm. He moves with purpose. He has the ability to make those crazy throws, and he'll take off. And he's playing incredible. And like, he is the X factor in, a game against the Chiefs. Like, I think the Chiefs beat them if they get there. But to me, what could be is just, does he lose his mind? Does he just lose his mind?
Well, yeah, and go ahead, Andy. I just want to say quickly, the X factor is the fact that Cole Beasley dropped a rap single last week, and every time he drops a rap single, they're going to do something big. So just look for another rap single this week, and if he does, it's a Bills W.
I texted you guys last night about this. I think it's really interesting, the two conferences right now. It's the old guard versus the new guard. Of the teams left, AFC, you have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, all young guys. NFC, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and, Jared Goff's obviously in between. But my point is 3 of the 4 are the old guard. And what else is interesting, you guys love talking about contracts. Everybody in the AFC is on a rookie deal, minus Patrick Mahomes, who signed the big deal, as we know, but was still on a final year before he signed that. So my point is, it is kind of interesting, right? You look at how these are shaping up, and this new young guard is just, they're so fun to watch. This crop of quarterbacks, obviously,
and not only is that, when you look at the AFC, you're looking at not just those are the guys that are, but look at the guys that they beat. They beat the old guard. They beat the Roethlisbergers. They beat the Rivers. Like, and that's, I think it's, I mean, it's not even a passing of the torch. It's a snatching of the torch, because I think Ben would love to be holding the torch, but he's watching, Baker Mayfield plant it in the center of Heinz Field. He's crying about it. Like, it was taken against his will.
Like, yeah. And then to kind of segue into the Ravens Titans game. I mean, that run, I must have watched that run by Lamar Jackson 10 times. It's not a single juke, not a single move. It's just gliding so effortlessly. Is that a word?
Yes.
Effortlessly.
Yes.
There's a stumble right there.
Now we did the Tomlin skewering. We've got to talk about basically the exact same thing. I mean, Vrabel, who I think is, as far as the strategy of it, and as far as like being a chess player and thinking about, if I do this, then this happens, and if I do this, then this, like, we've seen brilliant moments from him in his coaching career, from taking penalties on purpose to save 4 seconds, which leads to it, for him to punt in the situation they did late in the game seemed just as bad as Tomlin, if not worse.
Yeah, very. I mean, this whole game, I totally agree. And I think Vrabel, and I'll say this, like, Andy mentioned the 8 quarterbacks, and I think Vrabel may be in the top 10, but I feel like with Belichick aside, like, we're also dealing with the 8 best coaches in the NFL right now. So we're seeing a lot of people be really smart with the way they played. And I felt like it was definitely. I mean, you could feel the emotion from Lamar trying to avenge last year's loss. Like there was a lot of energy. I mean, they didn't even shake hands after the game.
Yeah.
So there's real passion in this, and I thought Harbaugh just played a really nice game. There was that one late call where they actually had to play where Willie Snead got called for like OPI.
Yeah.
That was atrocious, I thought, and like Harbaugh was lit up, and I just thought they, everyone talks about let's see the Ravens when they get down early, right? Can they come back? They went down 10-0, and they came back and won that game. So to me, it showed a lot of maturity. I think the Ravens are playing as good a football as they've played all year right now. Struggled early to start the year, getting a little healthier. You see, like maybe they're finally getting out of their COVID issues. I mean, who knows? But like the offense, yes, Lamar, is driving the ship. But like, they've inactivated Mark Ingram. Like Dobbins is the guy now. Hollywood Brown is like in his role now. Andrews is still like a big piece. Like. And a defense that was
Dez
sort of
is there.
Dez has learned to clap from Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
So like that,
and you gotta give Harbaugh props too. Is
100%.
Not only did Derrick Henry not play well, he doesn't even do what everybody expects him to do. Is like, oh, they're gonna slow him down, but they're only gonna slow him down for so long. He never came alive. They had a strategy to not let him break them down, and he never got going. And then he's, going over the sideline unhappy. And yeah, I mean, Harbaugh blatantly outcoaches Vrabel. And I just think Vrabel almost outcoached himself a little bit too.
I like all these discussions about coaches. So let's bring it back to what you're saying, Joe, about and Tug, Tomlin not adjusting. Look what Harbaugh did, right? I mean, he went all in on Lamar Jackson. And that was a risky move. And obviously Lamar MVP last year, but he didn't win a playoff game until this year. So like, I think, good for Harbaugh to kind of hit the reset button and go in a different direction with Lamar. And the Lamar thing for me, I'm just still so curious about, because he only had one bad throw yesterday, that bad interception to start the game. Then he played great. But again, it is a lot with his legs. And I still, maybe I'm still old school. Maybe I'm an old head or okay boomer. I still think at a certain point, though, you got to use that arm in the playoffs. And that's why I would give the early edge to the Bills ahead of this week's game, because I think Josh Allen can, use his arm more, obviously.
I'll disagree with you. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not the biggest fan of a quarterback that is so running based, but that to me, that's more of a long-term thing. I just don't think it's a long-term strategy to win. I think when a quarterback's running as much as Lamar does, eventually, he's going to take a hit that could hamper him. And like, once you tell somebody that they can only drive their Ferrari in third gear, well, just have a Honda, like, because if you can't go fast, what's the point? Drive something that's cheaper, drive something that's going to get you from point A to point B. Like, to me, a Lamar Jackson right now is as dangerous as anybody, because this is their strategy. Like you said, Harbaugh has gone all in on him. And I think, any given Sunday, again, a guy like that loses his mind and they can win any game against anybody.
Sure.
But I'm sort of on the same page as you, just not for the same reason, which is like,
Gotcha.
I just don't think it works. Whereas like a Josh Allen type, and Josh Allen may lose to the Ravens, I think Josh Allen can play this style of football now and then become just a passer. If Josh Allen takes a hit and can't scramble anymore, I still think he's an effective quarterback. I think if we do the thing with Lamar Jackson that we've done with quarterbacks in the past, a Mike Vick, for example, and say like, okay, that's it. We know this, and it works, but it only works so much. Now you're just going to be a passer. I just think that's reckless.
Yeah.
And so I love the Ravens right now. I think
No,
the Ravens-Bills game is the elite game next week, and
I agree.
I have no idea which way it goes.
No, I agree, but I'm not trying to take anything away from Lamar. I agree with everything you're saying. I just think I'm right now, gun to my head, I'm saying Bills, and I see
Close game. Just to throw that in there, Andy, you're right, because I've seen the line move as we've talked. Bills open at -3. It's down to -2.5. The total is 50. So I think you guys were saying the same thing that the bookmakers were saying.
Breaking.
Well,
news.
I've been holding on to this for 10 minutes now. I've been holding on to this. Yeah, I'm trying to get through these discussions.
I mean, this is breaking news.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, Prano, have at it, because this concerns you a lot with your Giants.
I mean, it concerns me in a terrible way. This is the worst news for me ever. Eagles fire Doug Pederson.
Wow.
I mean, I take joy in this because I hate Eagles fans, and I think that they're some of the most preposterous people on earth. But I am saddened by this. I would have preferred Doug Pederson, Eagles coach for life. I said that last week. Give him the Krzyzewski deal. He won the Super Bowl. You won your only Super Bowl. What else does the guy have to do? Put him in there forever. But like this, the way Eagles fans and the way kind of everybody in the media, a lot of people in the media talk about, well, what did they have to lose by losing the game? What do they have to do? What did they have to lose by their charity case? Give, victory to the Redskins. Well, he got fired because of the aftermath. Like, does he get fired if that game doesn't play out in some weird, the entire country looking at him, questioning him? And then also people are saying that was on the front office. Now, if the front office tells you to tank and you tank, they can't fire you, right?
Did they?
I'm curious to know all the details, because I mean, it just came out the last week before the game that his job is safe, and it comes out, yesterday that Lurie is like unhappy. I'm just so curious about. I'm sure Sal Palantino will tell us everything we need to know. But
I think he lives in a tent next to the Rocky statue.
That's by the way, that's the most like white privilege, like Tug Coker knowingly mispronouncing Sal Palantonio's name. That's just like,
no, I pronounced it right. You pronounced it wrong. It's not
Palantonio.
No, it's Palantino.
Is it?
Yeah, your white privilege is showing. No,
wait. I thought it was Sal Palantonio.
No, it's Palantino.
It's Sal Palatino?
Wrong? Yes, Palantino.
It is Palatino?
I'm pretty
I thought it was Sal Palantonio.
I was wrong. I felt like that was. I felt like Sal Palantonio joins Tug's country club, and Tug refuses to ever get his name right.
No, I'm not doing it.
New money. The Italian joints. It's like Palantino.
Kamala. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, obviously.
How's her name pronounced? I always mess it up.
Kamala.
Not Kamala?
No. But I'm sure she'll come on into the YouTube comments and let us know. But I want to say this about the Eagles.
It's very much Sal Palantonio.
Anyway, okay,
continue.
I'm wrong. So I'm wrong. I make one joke, I lose.
No,
my bad.
It's all right. Good. We need more comedy in this.
Yeah. But I am interested to know from our boy Sal. I won't say his last name.
Sal P.
Sal P.
He's like a Bachelor
witness
now.
Yeah, exactly. He is a Bachelor character. Where does Wentz fit in all this? How much is this to me, like, the not winning last week, is that really that big a deal? I mean, yes, I'm mad because I wanted to see the Giants or Dallas get in the playoffs, but like, I mean, it's probably the smart move for the franchise. So Lurie shouldn't. I mean, maybe he doesn't like the optics, but like, he should be happy to have a higher draft pick. Like, that's a terrible reason to fire him. So the reason to fire him, and as Joe said, to keep him in the division, is because I'm a Cowboys fan and Joe's a Giants fan. Like, he's terrible.
Yeah,
he's just not a good coach. And now we got to figure out, is he going to swoop in and take one of these head coaching jobs that are available? There's a bunch available. I mean,
I already saw.
I think we've talked about it, but I think the thing with the loss last week is you pick a lane that isn't like throwing your whole team and all the veterans under the bus and like making guys go out there and get CTE so that you can put on some dog and pony show that's really about this draft pick, but it's also about how you prefer Wentz, but Hurts is forced on you, but you don't want to keep Hurts, but you want to, but you don't know. Like the whole thing of like, let's go out and compete, but then I'm not going to kick the field goal, and then I'm going to put in Sudfeld. It's like, just say in advance, like, we have no reason to win this game. We're going to play our third stringers. It's a preseason game. We're going for a draft pick. Boom, the end. Like, now the NFL might not like those optics, but they didn't like it. They're not going to like it less than they liked what happened, which is Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels, getting on soapboxes to call you basically like un-American for not being a winner.
Does this happen? But like, here's my thing. This is another thing why TV is so important. If this game's on 1:00, nobody cares. Like,
I think no one cares.
America's watching at 8:15 at night. Like, the NFL probably feels the NFL. I wonder if the NFL, like, let's get into conspiracies. I wonder if the NFL is getting in Lurie's ear, being like, this guy embarrassed our brand.
Yeah.
I think if it happens simultaneous with the game that it, affected, it's way less a big deal. But like, I think it's maybe still a big deal in the aftermath, because the Giants and the Cowboys are, getting in brawls over their chance to win. And then, Doug Pederson's getting thanked by Ron Rivera after the game. Like, it's just bad all around. But then the question again, it becomes, you can't fire him if you asked him to do this, right? That seems really wrong if that happened. That's why, like you said, I want to know everything that happened. Like, I want to know everything. Like, does Doug Pederson now go on, ESPN and just serve some tea?
We don't need a Tiger doc.
Yeah.
We need this doc.
Yeah.
I want this doc out right now.
We need Under the Visor, the Doug Pederson Philadelphia Eagles story.
We need Armin Katayan and Sal Palantonio working together to give me the Doug Pederson doc, and I want it now.
Well, Tug, you asked about future. You're going to love this. This is a tweet 13 minutes ago from Adam Schefter. Former Eagles head coach Doug Pederson has a strong relationship with Jets GM Joe Douglas, which could put one more head coaching candidate in play for the Jets. Can you imagine? That would be the most Jets thing ever.
Let me ask you this, and we'll get back to the games. Just a rapid fire. You might have already discussed it. Is Urban Meyer the coach of the Jags next year?
Yes.
Wow. Who's your favorite candidate that's available right now? It's either Bieniemy, or do you like Art Smith from Tennessee to go somewhere? Probably. Hopefully someone good. Like,
I mean, I think I get the Bieniemy thing. My the flip side of Bieniemy to me is like, it's always been Andy Reid, So, and look at other coaches in the past who have been that guy. It's like, first of all, Doug Pederson.
Nagy.
Nagy. Yeah. Doug Pederson is, those guys are great examples. But I mean, I think Art Smith is, I think that offense, it's creative, and that's the thing. I mean, we saw yesterday, I don't even remember the dude's name, but the tight end who took the place of their third receiver, and they're just finding him. They're literally playing matchups. I think it's more creative. So if you have like a young quarterback, you have a young team, let's go that route. But I'm totally fine with Bieniemy getting a head coaching job. I'm not against it. I'm just saying my fear is it's the coaching equivalent of the big school quarterback.
Yeah. I just want to say this before we move on, Andy. This is a reminder to Eagles organization that Jason Garrett is available if they want to take him from the Giants and put him as the head coach of the Eagles. Yeah, I think I
appreciate that, Tug.
Yep. So just let everybody know.
Well, let's get to these games. Before we do that, I want to remind all the dirtballs that support for today's show is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Big news, guys. Almost as big as Doug Pederson being fired, we have some big news from our friends at Manscaped. They just released their new cologne scent to help you feel good and smell good all over and at all times. God knows I need it, because lately I have been told by many people, you always smell like the pool because I'm always in the pool now. So I need some of that Manscaped cologne. Who knew smelling this good could feel this good too? Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement for all your below the belt grooming, for all the below the waist grooming needs. I always use my Manscaped 3.0, guys. If you don't have a Manscaped, just get one. Like, clean up your junk, clean up your balls, and like let's just call it what it is. That's what it is. It's just gonna clean everything up. And
it can do for your undercarriage what ownership just did for the Eagles. Just clean it up.
Yeah, just clean it up.
Just clean house down there.
Just take it, get control of it. And again, you got so many different great products, and now they have this great cologne. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code DIRTY at manscaped.com. Your balls and your body will thank you. So once again, Dirtballs, get 20% off and free shipping with the code DIRTY at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use promo code DIRTY. Look good, smell good, feel good with Manscaped. And, one last note on that. The thing's so great, I probably only have to use on certain areas down there like every 6 weeks. Takes a couple hours to charge my lawnmower 3.0, and then I trim the hedges, which now I get to do in whatever room I want in the house. Tug.
I was muting myself.
Yeah, I figured
when you were talking about that, but
preferably not the kitchen. Otherwise,
no,
or any carpeted room.
No, none of those areas. Okay, so
outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let it just blow. It's actually good. It's good fertilizer for the garden. Too much. Okay. We got to talk Bears Saints. Not the most fun game to watch, but Nickelodeon made it a little better.
I have to agree. Listen, I'm going to jump in right now with the two kids. My 4-year-old watched the game with me, and all he wanted to see was like the effects. Like and the only sad part about Nickelodeon is they had the slime zone for touchdowns, and they decided to put the Bears in it because the only way you get slimed is if you score touchdowns.
Yeah.
So we needed a team that could score 4 or 5, 6 touchdowns to really take advantage of the slime zone. But you know what? I think we'll quickly get off Nickelodeon, but like we need more of this coverage. Like
yes,
there's too much stuffing. Like we don't need the graphics for adults, but like we need more commentary when it's just like people just chatting. Like I think Romo was hitting on that. I think Aikman and Buck have actually gone more in that direction where there's a little bit more opining and a little bit more, banter. It was nice to see.
So were you guys both fully tuned in to Nickelodeon? Like you watched the entire game, the Nickelodeon feeds?
I watched the most of it from Nickelodeon because my son actually, who doesn't really care that much, he just asked me who we're rooting for every game. He's like, "Who are we rooting for?" And I don't care about 98% of the teams, but I got to pick one every time. And so, but this is the one time where he was like excited to watch the commercial breaks where they go with the googly eye. It was real. I mean, from a business standpoint, incredibly smart by the NFL.
Yeah.
Like
I watched about a quarter of it on Nickelodeon.
But just to talk about like the NFL doesn't really need it, but like baseball does.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like let's talk about getting audiences younger. I think every sports franchise should be watching that and taking notes on how to do that.
I watched for a minute. It was like, I don't know if he was the sideline reporter because he's not. Obviously, they weren't doing it, but there was like the kid who was
Lex.
Lex
Palantonio.
Yeah, what is Lex on? We got to get Lex some Lexapro or something because Lex was turned up. I was like, man, turn on the volume, Lex.
Well, there's 2 TikTok stars that were like doing the game with him, but Nate Burleson is really good at his job no matter what he's doing. But also, who's doing the play-by-play was Noah Eagle, like the progeny of like one of the best in the game, Ian Eagle. He's like 24 years old. He's already really, really good.
Yeah, he does Clippers games.
Yeah, he does the Clippers game. So that was a lot of fun, and it made it fun for a game that like. Quickly, I'll say, I don't believe in the Saints, but I'd love to see what happened with that game if the one play, like the Bears are so fragile a team that they need momentum, right? And if they get that one play to execute that one play where they got the dude Wims or whatever his name is,
Yep.
catches the
Yep.
touchdown, the
Yep.
whole energy of that game shifts. Everyone gets
100%.
confidence. Trubisky has confidence. He drops it. It's in his hands.
I mean, that was an incredible throw.
Great throw. I mean, Trubisky, like, it starts to soar. You see the defense play with real energy. And, like, instead, like, it deflates the whole team.
Now, you said you don't believe in the Saints. I will take you through a thought process that I had this week. So I'm in a playoff bracket pool. And I felt really good about all my selections. I'm looking at my thing, and I had the Rams winning. And so I had the Rams going to Green Bay. I have the Saints winning. I had the Bucs winning. And then I had it, you know, I felt great about Packers, Saints. I'm not on the Tom Brady train. I'm not on the Bucs train. And then at the last minute, and not because I feel how I feel about the Bucs, I swapped it. I go Bucs over Saints because the post injury Breeze Saints give me no confidence. And I bet the Bears yesterday, which we have the no extra point, no cover, which, I mean, NFL, like, I get why that's a thing, but also keep in mind, like,
you want to be friends with some people.
Yeah, like, gambling is a huge part of your existence. Like the idea that, like, scores don't matter, like, they fucking definitely matter. But I liked the Bears in that game. I didn't think that they were going to win, but I like them to cover because I have no confidence in this Saints team anymore.
But I got to ask you guys, take the offense out of it. Their defense is so damn good, though. Like that gives me confidence.
I think on paper they're good. I think that, like, again, Trubisky dropped a bomb on him, and that to me, like, changes the whole game. So the Bears defense their offense just really, really struggles. And it's a bad matchup for Montgomery. I mean, outside of Miles Sanders going for 100 yards, they haven't given up a rusher for 100 yards in like 4 years. The Bucs don't really care about rushing the ball. To me, why I think the defense is good. I do think their defense is good, and I think I'm just going to go with this old theory. I'm going to lean on Tom Brady one time. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers were absolutely embarrassed on Sunday Night Football 8 weeks ago. I think they scored 3 points.
Revenge.
34-3. They've lost twice this year.
I mean, that's the thing. The third time that was
hard to beat them.
That was a factor in my decision.
Hard to beat them 3 times. The line is it's a 3-point game. They're basically saying the teams are even. And I'd like to see Tom Brady play playoff games in a dome. The dude is so used to playing in snow in the playoffs. Let's get him in a game where, since Antonio Brown has come out, Mike Evans has 39 targets, looks good. Godwin looked good, 36 targets. Antonio Brown's looking like, very, very good, 36 targets. I mean, the weapons are starting to build a rhythm with Brady, and I think, like, another thing is, like, Brady, they're the same age basically. Breeze has he's less explosive. His ADOT is just not very good. Like, he's throwing 3, 5, 7 yard outs to people. It's just hard to score. Where Brady can go to Mike Evans all the time.
I think even more than it's hard to score, it's just you don't have the fear of the big play at all. The big play is like, we're not going to beat you with the big play. We're just going to win this game by, moving the ball down the field, 6-7 yards at a time, and play defense. And that just seems so, I mean, for everything we know about Drew Brees' career, that just seems like so out of character for it to be like, this is where we are with the Drew Brees in his career. Like, it's not going to be this high scoring offense.
And maybe we're dealing with some residual rib issue.
Sure.
He's still lingering, but, like, they want to go to Taysom. I just find it so wonky when they bring Taysom in. I always wonder what Breeze is thinking. Is Breeze thinking, like, cool, I'm happy to, like, take a playoff, or is he, like, frustrated by it? I just feel like it's a weird energy. I mean, if the Buccaneers don't win this game, I'm going to put it squarely on. I won't even put it on Brady. I'll put it on Arians, because I feel like they should have enough
Firepower.
Firepower to get this game to get a win.
I'm really surprised that you guys are overwhelmingly confident in the Bucs. I don't know.
Listen, I'm not overwhelmingly. I just told you that I had I had a Sharpie out my Saints pick because I am not overwhelmingly on the Bucs. I think I'm just basically, I think to tell you where I'm at, I am not a believer in either of these teams, but I'm currently less of a believer in the Saints.
I'm the exact same place. And I think the one place you can actually beat the Bucs is throwing against them, which Breeze is not doing very well right now. You can't run on the Bucs. So I think where the weaknesses are is also where the weaknesses of the Saints offense is. And I feel like, I don't think either team gets out of the conference. But I think, if I had to put some money down now, I would take the 3 points. I would just take.
Listen, I started. I'm like 2 weeks removed from everybody slurping Brady, and give me whoever he plays in the first round. Then it ends up being the charity case Washington team, and I'm like, okay, well, not them.
Don't do that to Taylor. What was it, Taylor Heinicke?
Yeah, but I just, the Washington's still Washington. I don't think it's necessarily good for the Washington team to go in the way that they went in. We can get into that game in a bit, but I'm 2 weeks removed from, I'll take anybody versus Brady to, well, not Washington, and now, well, not the Saints, but anybody who they might play after that. But still, it's amazing that that's where I'm at.
I mean, we can sort of parallel process the Bucs and the Washington football team game. They also didn't. Brady played well. They didn't punch it in a lot of times. I mean, Suckup had to kick a lot of field goals. That's not how you're gonna. I mean, that's probably not how you're gonna beat the Saints. Washington football team's defense is good, but they also figured out a way to Chase Young wasn't that effective. After chirping a lot, they found a way to contain him. And they didn't. But by the same token, the Bucs didn't look like a Super Bowl caliber team, beating the footballers. So
and Heinicke's gonna get his Matt Flynn on now, right?
Good for him.
He was definitely I would say impressive, because I didn't think that would be even that much of a game. And he keeps him in it. And he plays well, and he's running the ball, and he's diving for pylons, and he's you love to see it.
Well, last thing I'll say, we talked about mobility, Lamar. I saw a stat earlier this week. There's been more touchdowns this year from quarterbacks running than there have combined in the rest of the decade. So there's such a big move to mobility at quarterback. You got to feel like Heinicke's going to play somewhere because that's one of his biggest assets.
Yeah, and I love it. I mean, the guy was taking math exams a month ago. Think about that. He was literally taking math exams a month ago at Old Dominion. He played his way into at least being a backup for a few years, and I was loving it. You
say this.
You felt the energy, right, of America rooting for this kid.
I definitely did not root for him, but
yeah.
But one thing I'll notice, you saw the dive that he made, that incredible dive, and then to contrast that to the Chicago-New Orleans game, where on a fourth down, Trubisky makes a business decision on an early fourth down call and doesn't go for it. He lets himself get run out of bounds. I'm like,
yeah,
Trubisky, you're playing for your job here.
Yeah.
I actually root for Trubisky because I think I feel like he gets a terrible rap. He didn't choose to be drafted second. You know what I mean? The Bears put that on him.
Well, I want to talk about Trubisky, but before, I just want to say one thing about Heinicke. The one thing, and I don't want to see any NFC East teams win if it's not the Giants, but I was upset we didn't get a crazy Heinicke victory and get a Heinicke storms the Capitol headline on Sunday morning.
Too soon.
Now Trubisky,
he is a big MAGA supporter, I'm told.
Yeah.
So
hey, YouTube just kicked us off. Oh no, YouTube kicked us off. You can't even make jokes anymore. Done.
We're done. Oh man, that's too bad.
Where are we at with Mitch Trubisky? Trubisky's the Bears starter next year, no doubt about it, hands down. Unless what?
It's such a mediocre position for the Bears because Nagy is underperforming, but he's been to the playoffs 2 out of 3 years. like the 7th seed wild card really helps Nagy's his resume. And by the way, I don't think we ever go back. Right? Obviously, fans love 3 football games on Saturday and Sunday. Like, what's the incentive for the NFL to ever return to 6? So, got to feel like this is
my buddy. Shout out to my buddy Mark, who messages me this morning. You have to choose one quarterback next year: Goff, Wentz, or Trubisky to be your starter. Who do you choose?
And who's coaching, or am I the coach?
Yeah. What team? There's so many factors.
Probably Goff.
And then he goes, add Mariota and Winston. Now I'm not sure if that's but I'm kind of like,
I'm listening to Winston. I mean, I really am. I think you guys, I know there's no one harder in America on Winston, but like, here's the thing about Winston. Analytics.
I'm listening to Mariota.
Analytics love Winston. Like he throws so many interceptions, but he also, like, what wins? A little bit of mobility and ADOT, like average depth of target, like matters. Like he's not afraid to throw the ball, and we need more of that in the NFL, I feel like. So
I'm sorry. You brought up Winston. I just had to go to our guy. Well, it's just his tweets. I mean, it's like Jameis 1 of 1. Like, this dude needs to be committed.
Is he still doing it?
He's still doing it. Wow. His last tweet from 14 hours ago, anyone who watched Ben Roethlisberger throw for 501 yards, it's like, dude, how many of those were in garbage time? 4 TDs and 4 interceptions, saw why the Steelers tried to sign and offer more money to Jameis this past offseason than the Saints did. He's Big Ben with more athleticism and arm talent. Yeah, Big Ben's the old guard, bro. Ben equals, and then he writes Big Ben equals first ballot Hall of Famer. It's like, yeah, so that just means Jameis is a first ballot Hall of Fame. What?
Yeah, Jameis is a first ballot Hall of Famer if he started his career in 2004, and because he started his career 10 years later, people are like, you can't start here.
It's very interesting to see Winston. Winston has every reason to be like. I mean, you have to assume that this might be it for Breeze. It would be really telling when the Saints don't go with him.
Well, I mean, I think it was really telling that they didn't go with him in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
Like, I get the Taysom Hill thing a little bit for them, but at the same time, like, if Winston, I just think the idea that Winston is their man waiting in the wings. Well, Drew Brees cracked a bunch of ribs. Give him the fucking job. It's like, hey, this is the guy. Here's his understudy. This guy is in charge of pulling up the curtain every day, but we're going to go with curtain guy. We'll figure out like you're not the backup. You weren't the backup. You were the third string quarterback the whole time.
If you have a little bit of good coaching, I mean, and this is going to be really hit Prano hard, but don't you think Winston could fit into a Fitzpatrick mold? He turns the ball over way more, but they both have they have similar DNA, right? Like, you have to feel like he could be an asset to me. And I'm curious to see what the Dolphins are a very interesting position too. We can talk about this later, but there's a lot of interesting quarterback situations.
But Tug, I'll say to you what Joe said to me recently, and I think it's a great question. Who does Jameis Winston go to that can coddle the interception problem, the turnover problem? Like, who does he go to? Name a team or name a coach. I couldn't think of one.
He didn't throw a pick this year, so he's already learned from. I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I mean, maybe I'd like to see where. Joe Brady's going to go somewhere where he can have a quarterback rated higher than Winston. But you look at Teddy Bridgewater as an example. Like, Teddy is the opposite of Jameis in the sense that he throws 1 or 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. But he's not the answer. I think we quickly realized we got to move on from Teddy.
Really? Do we? Am I the only one?
I agree with you. Yes,
I'm the only one saying to give him another year.
They'll probably stick with him another year, but I think they're probably internally they're probably we need to think about what we're doing, after this deal's over, because they're loaded, dude. They have a great core of. I mean, offensively, they're really talented.
And I think the Bridgewater at the Saints thing was the perfect Bridgewater situation. You're getting paid well to back up a veteran quarterback on a good team that can win games, whether our starter's in or not. So be ready. and it was a perfect situation for him. Now he turned it into a starting job, but like I always say that is like in the end, Brian Hoyer and, Chase Daniel, like these guys made a lot of money by not being the starter. Like if Chase Daniel plays more games in his career, he's not here anymore. So he's just like, hey man, I'm fine being the backup. I'm making $38 million in my career.
There should be like a fantasy football league for that. Like Matt Schaub just retired, made like $100 million. I mean, like those are the real winners of football. Like all these people who actually play a lot and hurt their bodies, that's dumb.
What do we think of this Deshaun Watson? There's some chirping about him in Miami. You guys seeing this?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. I mean, I don't like it. It's kind of crazy to me that, well, first of all, let me just say this, like, what an upgrade, like if you're the Dolphins, you're in a second, but I'm actually not sure how many teams there are that aren't an upgrade getting Deshaun Watson. Like, I just think Deshaun Watson is at this point underrated because of the situation he was in, the coaching that he had. But like, Miami, with what they did this year with their quarterback situation, like Deshaun Watson is a game changer for like the Bills come out of the AFC East and every, they're the 2 seed and everybody's looking at like the Bills as the future. Like you get Deshaun Watson in Miami, I'm not sure that that they don't win the division next year.
If you go across the league, at a certain point in the offseason, I'm sure you'll do this. Like, and you look at all the quarterback availability and like versus like the teams that need them, like Washington football team, what are they doing next year? What are the Texans doing? What are the Bears doing? Like, it's crazy to me. And I used to think like from Deshaun's standpoint, like it's interesting to stay in the AFC South in the past because that division's terrible. But now there's a little bit of churn in there where like Trevor Lawrence goes to the Jags if he's any good. Tannehill's building something over there. It's not as easy. I think you almost do like what a LeBron does and you start attacking like a division or a conference. And the NFC East is the place you want to be playing right now. Like it feels like that's the division that is most up for grabs. And maybe the NFC North eventually when Aaron Rodgers kind of moves out, Matt Stafford never like who knows what Matt Stafford's another guy. Like what are we gonna do with Matt Stafford?
Yeah.
So totally. It's like if I'm in the divisions, if I'm a free agent, I start looking at like divisions I can actually compete and maybe win it.
Well, let's say you're Deshaun Watson. Let's say you go that route. Like, where are you going in the NFC East? Like
what about? I mean, the worst thing the Cowboys did was I said this from day one, giving Zeke a big contract because then you could get Dak. But if like let's say you don't get Dak, then you can do a Dak for Deshaun move or something. You could like do something kind of creative there. Like who doesn't want to be the Cowboys quarterback? The football team, needs a quarterback. Like,
can we just get a goddamn name already?
Whatever. You can name them whatever you want. The Palantonians.
You just can't name them the Redskins.
No,
yeah,
you can name literally anything else you want.
I'm not. This isn't directed at you, Tug. I'm just like, what's the search at? Like, where are we at right now, DC?
I think there's enough problems over there with Daniel Snyder that he's not really. He's like got so many lawyers. He's like, I got 25 lawyers on it.
They're gonna do what the Texans didn't do. Deshaun Watson wants out because they haven't given him say in the GM. They're gonna be like, come here, name the team.
Exactly.
Washington football Deshaun's.
We don't even know what the Eagles are doing next year, like with Wentz, Hurts.
Yeah, that is a good point. Like the East
if you're Deshaun Watson, that's the only you don't want to go to the Eagles, right?
But also, you do so well for yourself. We talk about like post career, like the Schaubs are all making $100 million. Being in the East, you make money just by being a quarterback in the NFC East.
Right.
So you make a move and you're like, wow, all of a sudden I'm like Daniel Jones is out. I'm a new Giants quarterback. Like you'd make $100 million just being the Giants quarterback. I know, and then you have what the NFC North is the only place I would target, which is Aaron Rodgers still there, Kirk Cousins, whatever, Stafford, maybe somewhere else, maybe with the new coach, they can't figure it out. And then the Bears also. So anyway, you just don't let go of a franchise. The last franchise quarterback to be let go of, I think, was like Drew Brees. This doesn't happen very often. I guess Kirk Cousins left, but so we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. You don't let a guy go like that. Is your rock that you build everything around.
I mean, the
just
thing is,
I
if
don't
you are
understand it.
if you are the Texans, and we talked about the Watt reunion, it's like if you are the Texans, and Watson doesn't want, then there's like trade everybody, get it for Watt, get it for Watson, disband, essentially retract the Texans and then expand the Texans again and just start over entirely, get a bunch of first rounders for everybody. What else are you going to do?
It's so hard to hit on a quarterback. We all know this. It's so hard to hit on a quarterback. I mean, Deshaun Watson led the league in passing this year, and they traded away the top 3 wide receiver this, earlier in the offseason. And then one of the guys goes on, loses for PEDs for half the year, and he still, crushes. To me, like that franchise is so dysfunctional. It's like you almost want to just pull them in and be like, okay, you get the coach, the GM, whatever you want.
You know who's running the Texans, Prano? The woman whose Airbnb we stayed in her garage in Houston, which, by the way, I talked to Nick D'Alessandro. Tug alluded to him earlier in the show. I talked to him last week. He's defending. Do we have a shower gate? A post shower gate? He's like, dude, it wasn't even that big of a mess. He's claiming.
Did y'all lose a deposit?
No, it was
Okay.
No.
He's just a kid who doesn't know like dry
How
yourself
shower
off.
curtains work?
Like he just drip dried on a bath mat essentially. Like he got out like a dog gets out of the pool. Just shook himself out in the bathroom. It was like on the ceiling. It was on the walls. The mirror was wet. The bath mat. It's like a little bathroom. So it's one of those things that you grow into. You're like, how do I not get my bathroom soaking every time I get out? They'll figure it out.
That's unreal. So, Tug, what's on the plate today for you? Like, what's going on in Los Angeles? What's going on out there?
Well, obviously, my one of my sons in preschool, there was like a COVID scare and within one of the classes, so there's no school for the week. So I'm back to watching 2 kids. So it's about to strike midnight for me. Turn back into a pumpkin. Watch 2 kids all day long. It's going to be pure hell. So I'm enjoying
really
this.
Eased into that, and
Yeah.
it's going to be pure hell.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I'm doing this week. Obviously, watching. I thought the update would be some sort of impeachment for breaking news, but we'll see what happens there. But just getting excited for more playoff football this week, and obviously,
hey, to bring it in real quick to the presidential stuff. I mean, and to make it sports wise, you'd argue like obviously there's been so much turmoil within the Trump presidency since he started, but I would argue the last couple months of like his meltdown, I mean, it's Pittsburgh Steelers-esque. Like, have you ever seen a team? I mean, his meltdown is colossal. They were 11-0 and then go 1-5. There's no way that's ever happened.
I mean, I'm sure you can go into the Rolodex and figure that out, but
there's no way. It's very Steelers-esque.
It's a little unfair. It's a little unfair to the 11-0 Steelers to compare them to the first 3.5 years of the Trump presidency, which I don't think anybody was going out, spending their days going like this 11-0 Steelers is actually the worst thing that's ever happened to this great nation.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a whole other discussion.
Well, the one thing I will say, and I texted you guys about this, and you, I think you were right to harp on this. This is, a little sports politics conflation, but like the PGA of golf was scheduled to host one of Trump's golf courses was scheduled to host an event, PGA, a major, in 2022, and they basically sent out a vote saying that we will never play on a Trump course, to which the RNA, which is the division of pro golfers, the tour in Europe, basically said we're not going to play. Troon is probably the most known course owned by Trump, and it had some great battles. Battle in the Sun, 1977, Nicholas and Watson, and they said we'll never play here as long as Trump, is involved. And I agree with it. But Andy, I thought you had a good point, which is like, everyone, it's easy to leave now. It's like, I wish people would have taken a stand
Well, I
time
just,
ago, but
yeah, I just, my problem in general on all this stuff, and it's the same way with Twitter suspending him now. It's like, you waited until his last 2 weeks. Like, do what you want. I'm not arguing that. Like PGA, Twitter, do what you want. You're all private businesses, but you waited until
I think
the events of last week are a direct result of the last 3.5 years.
sure,
That's all I'm saying.
But and I'm not defending it, but like, my alma mater, Lehigh, came in with it, and then they took away his honorary degree, and I didn't even know he had an honorary degree from Lehigh. To be totally honest with you, I made the tweet about now I have the record for earning a Lehigh degree with the least classes attended. I thought I had that title already. I didn't realize that they were handing out Donald Trump honorary degrees, but I went down a little wormhole on that, and like they had tried to do it. Like I'm sure it was a students thing and people bringing up like, fuck this guy. They tried to do it and it didn't pass and it didn't pass and it didn't pass. And then it happened. Like, I guess the only defense is, insurrection pushed people over the top. Like, people, like, I think there's still a sense in America. It's like, not everybody, obviously there's millions upon billions of outspoken Trump haters, but there are still like somewhat reasonable people who are like, he's still our president. Just like I'm sure there's Republicans who hated the idea of Joe Biden getting elected, but they're like, well, it happened. He's our president. I think insurrection, like storming the Capitol and smearing shit on the walls,
people dying
may have pushed people over people dying, like may have pushed some people who are like, listen, we don't want to be involved in this at all. We're just going to, kind of ignore it, to say, all right, we can't really ignore it anymore. Like, we can't let a guy who's, probably rightfully branded as a traitor to the nation host a golf tournament and just hand him money.
And just to bring it back to sports, and I agree with what you're saying. I feel I mean, I'll be happy when he's gone. But there is some sports political news. Belichick is supposed to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
I saw
this week. What does Belichick do in this situation? I mean, is this a rain check? I've not seen the latest, but like, is this a rain check situation? Is this you can't decline? I'm very curious to see how this is navigated. Any thoughts on any predictions on how this is gonna?
My prediction is that he fucking does it, because I'm not like, I'm pretty sure Belichick's like a big Trumper and like whatever, like, and who's gonna knock Belichick off his spot. But I think that what would be smart and the easiest thing ever to do if you're Bill Belichick is just be grumpy old man that's like, this is above my level of like annoying. Like, I cut this guy for missing 2 practices. Like, I don't need to get involved in a like possibly getting a medal from a traitor to the United. Like, just be like, I'm on to week 1. And just like never respond to it at all. You know what I mean? That's the easy out for him. Now we'll see what he does.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, I think you don't accept it and you move on. But I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna give a little words of advice to people, which I'll be interested in how this plays out. I read a great editorial today. Shout out Wall Street Journal.
You're still doing it?
There you go, Tug. But I thought it was a great editorial. And now that we're ending one presidency and moving to another, you don't have that big orange faced guy to blame anymore, people. And his point was, we got to look at ourselves. And he also knocked in the article, Republicans blaming Pelosi. It's like, my only thing about people, just for everybody listening, is we have to take accountability for ourselves and stop blaming others. And that was kind of the premise of the piece. And I think that's a great point of, he's gone now, or he's going to be gone. So what are you going to do?
Listen, I'm from the, my history is I'm an outspoken Barack Obama critic. I said Trump, if you put a gun to my head, I'd vote for Trump over Hillary. I'm looking forward to getting back to some sense of normalcy so I can shit on Joe Biden. But at the same time, like, I don't think what happened last week, it was like out of, like, I wasn't that shocked that that's like where Trump's presidency got. And like, again, I'm the guy of like, let's bottom out. Let's go full lottery. Let's go full nation tank. let's go full rebuild. Last thing you want to be is the last team into the NBA playoffs. Just tank. And I think we did that. I think the one thing, and I'm sure there are people on here. I got into arguments with fans of our show over saying, like, I don't want Hillary to be president. And, obviously this affects you directly, Andy, but like the handling of the pandemic where you're just pretending like he got served re-election on a platter. Every politician in history wants some sort of disaster in the last year of their presidency so they can take that in. He just was like, it's a hoax. And that cost people their lives. And that's what's fucked up. And that's like the worst thing he did. Like what happened last week. I'm like, I thought that was going to happen with the Trump presidency. I was counting on it. Tank for, Yang or whatever.
Yeah.
But of course we don't, we're not smart enough to do that kind of thing.
I just, like I said, that's my point. It's just like us looking at ourselves and stop. Like I'm over the fighting, like, and everybody falls prey to it. And I hate it. I hate no one taking accountability and all that stuff, but I will take some accountability on bringing Tug back. And I'm so happy that you were here today, Tug.
Hey, thanks a lot. It's perfect timing. My kids are here. It's time for me to watch them, but it's great to see you guys. Hopefully Joe's done with his quarantine. I can see him again. Can get on the golf course like friends. Oh, here's my youngest son here. Hi, here's my youngest son right here. Can you say hi?
Hi.
You're soon to be middle child.
That's right, my middle child.
Keep your eyes on those middle child. Don't, as a former middle boy, don't let him get lost in the mix.
I will not let him do it.
He'll end up a stand-up comedian.
Well, boys, thanks as always for having me on. I love you guys and I love the Dirty Sports community. Always great to chop it up. And you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Tug Coker. And I'm happy to do this again. I'll get my mic straightened out. I know Andy's mad at me for my technology, my Luddite qualities.
It's all good, Tug. We still love you. Thanks for coming back to the show. And yeah, man, I'll let you hop off here if you got to play dad duty.
Yes, I do, but I'll be in touch with you guys. I'll let you guys continue, but let's go. I'll send in my predictions for the week.
Okay, perfect.
Joe and I'll be closely aligned. I'll let you know if I switch off the Bucks, but
all right.
I predict. I think the ones are going to make it. I think it's going to be a GB KC Super Bowl. So
nice.
We'll see what happens. All right, fellas. Talk to you all soon.
All right, later, Tug.
Bye.
Prano, let's wrap it up as well. What do you think?
Okay. How far into the show are we?
We are hour and 40 minutes.
Sure. I mean, I'm fine with wrapping it up. I don't know if there's anything that I feel like with Tug on, it goes a little bit, we bounce around, which I enjoy. I enjoy his presence. Is there anything that, you feel like we missed? There's
a lot of good calls and there's stuff we can get to next episode. If you want to leave a call, 310-359-8365. I do have some stuff I got to take care of here in the old suburbs. But yeah, it was a good show. Great to have Tug back. Guys, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Dirty Sports. As always, if you leave an iTunes review, drop a Twitter or Instagram handle. We had a ton of reviews last week, so thank you to the Dirtballs.
Awesome.
I will be getting those koozies out to everyone, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram again at The Dirty Sports.
At Fix Your Life on Twitter, at Joe Prano on Instagram, TikTok, and Venmo. Keep drinking Miller Lite. Keep reviewing the show. Yeah, that's all I got. And I look forward to getting to your guys' calls on Thursday. I know I saw Andy just even previewing with some of the call topics. So
there's some good ones.
Get your calls and call the show.
Yeah, there's some good ones. We're gonna have to go back to the Home Depot discussion. We have some calls about that. There's some great calls. So yeah.
We've gotten a lot of messages about the Home Depot thing. It's like it's the new milkshake gate.
And it's by the way, it's real. From everybody I'm hearing from, like, this isn't a crazy idea that they purposely.
This isn't like California bros turned Home Depot employees everywhere. They're just like ignoring customers.
Yeah.
Even at Lowe's, we've heard.
I was gonna say we're hearing Lowe's and Home Depot are kind of following the same pattern.
So shop at keep small businesses alive. Find that local Ace Hardware.
For real.
Which is so funny because Andy, you've been in Venice. Lincoln Hardware.
Oh, bro.
It's like you go there and the guys are so fucking mean to you.
So
And you're
mean.
like, you know what? I'll just go get ignored at Home Depot for half the price.
They're so mean at that hardware store. So mean. Although I found a great little one because I needed a very specific part for the bathroom. And Home Depot actually didn't have the part and they recommended this little one. So they did. It only took me to go to Home Depot, I think 2 or 3 times last week, but they finally got it situated to go to another.
You finally found an employee and they were like, go to another store.
Yeah, that's what happened. All right, Dirtballs. Thank you guys for the support. Have a great week.